What if I told you that the difference between staying broke and building serious wealth isn't landing some dream job or hitting the lottery, but rather mastering a handful of ridiculously simple monthly habits that most people completely ignore? What if I told you that while everyone else is obsessing over get rich quick schemes and cryptocurrency moonshots, you could be quietly stacking wins that add up to over $100,000 to your net worth without breaking a sweat or sacrificing your sanity? Most people would probably laugh and say that's impossible. They'd insist that building real wealth requires either a six-figure salary, some brilliant investment strategy, or at least a trust fund from wealthy relatives. But here's what might shock you. The math behind wealth building is so predictable and straightforward that it's almost boring. And that's exactly why most people never do it. My name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, compound interest, and why the majority of people seem trapped in an endless cycle of financial mediocrity. If you're tired of watching your bank account balance hover around the same pathetic numbers month after month, and you actually want to understand how small, consistent actions create massive results over time, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it ends up changing how you think about building wealth. Here's something that will blow your mind about wealth building that nobody talks about. According to recent data, it typically takes someone about 8 years to save their first $100,000, but here's the kicker. Once you cross that threshold, it only takes about 6 more years to go from 600,000 to 1 million. The difference isn't that people suddenly become financial geniuses or start earning dramatically more money. The difference is that compound interest finally has enough fuel to work its magic. This is why the first 100,000 is absolutely brutal to accumulate. You're doing all the heavy lifting while compound interest is basically sitting on the bench eating popcorn. But once you build that foundation, your money starts working harder than most people do at their actual jobs. And the beautiful part about this whole process is that it doesn't require you to live like a monk, start some revolutionary business, or have any special knowledge that regular people don't possess. The secret lies in understanding something that sounds almost too simple to be true. Wealth building isn't about making huge, dramatic changes to your life. It's about stacking small monthly wins that compound over time into something genuinely life-changing. And I'm going to show you exactly which wins move the needle and which ones are just feel-good activities that keep you busy but broke. Before we dive into the specific strategies, let me ask you something. When you think about people who have built serious wealth, what comes to mind? Maybe you picture someone driving a luxury car, living in a massive house, or posting Instagram photos from exotic vacation destinations. But here's what research actually shows us about millionaires. Most of them look absolutely nothing like what you'd expect. The typical millionaire lives in a middle-class neighborhood, drives a modest car that's probably several years old, and has developed habits around money that would seem boring to most people. They've mastered the art of living below their means while consistently directing money toward assets that grow over time. They understand something that escapes most people, which is that looking wealthy and being wealthy are two completely different things. The average household in America spends over $5,000 per month, which adds up to roughly $67,000 annually. Think about what this means. If you're spending $67,000 per year, you need to bring home at least that much just to break even. And remember, we're talking about take-home pay here, not gross income. So if you want to have any money left over for building wealth, you need to be earning significantly more than $67,000 per year or figuring out how to live on substantially less. This is where most people get stuck in what I call the earning trap. They assume the solution to their money problems is making more money. So they work longer hours, chase promotions, or start side hustles, all while maintaining the same spending habits that kept them broke in the first place. What happens next is predictable. As soon as their income increases, their expenses mysteriously increase right along with it. This phenomenon has a name. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it's probably the biggest wealth killer that nobody talks about. Here's the thing that successful wealth builders understand that most people miss. Building wealth has almost nothing to do with how much money you make and everything to do with how much money you keep. I know people making six-figure salaries who are completely broke because they spend seven figures worth of lifestyle. Meanwhile, I know teachers and mechanics who are quietly building substantial wealth because they've figured out the difference between looking rich and being rich. The first monthly win that can dramatically accelerate your wealth building is so obvious that most people overlook it entirely. Automate your savings before you have a chance to spend the money. This isn't some revolutionary concept, but it's shocking how few people actually implement it consistently. The idea is simple. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your investment accounts on the same day you get paid, before you have time to convince yourself you need that money for something else. Most financial experts suggest starting with 10 to 15% of your income, but here's what I've discovered from working with people who actually build wealth. The specific percentage matters less than developing the habit of paying yourself first. If you can only manage 5% right now, start there. The key is establishing the automatic system so that building wealth becomes as routine as paying your electric bill. Here's why automation works so well. It removes the emotional decision making that sabotages most people's financial progress. When you have to manually decide whether to invest money each month, you're fighting against every marketing message, social pressure, and impulse purchase that crosses your path. But when the money automatically flows to your investment accounts before you even see it, wealth building happens regardless of how you feel or what temptations arise. The second monthly win involves taking advantage of what might be the easiest money you'll ever make in your entire life. If your employer offers a retirement plan match, maximizing that benefit should be your absolute top priority. This is literally free money that your employer is offering to give you, yet approximately 25% of workers completely ignore it. Here's how employer matching typically works. Let's say your company matches 50 cents for every dollar you contribute, up to 6% of your salary. If you're earning $60,000 per year and you contribute 6%, that's $3,600 annually. Your employer then adds another $1,800 to your account for free. That's an instant 50% return on your investment before your money even gets invested in anything. Think about that for a moment. Where else can you get a guaranteed 50% return with zero risk? The stock market might give you 8 to 10% annually over long periods. Real estate might generate similar returns if you're lucky and smart about it, but employer matching gives you an immediate 50% boost just for participating. Yet somehow, millions of people leave this money on the table every single year. The math on this becomes even more compelling when you factor in compound growth over time. That extra $1,800 per year from employer matching, invested consistently over 30 years at an 8% return, grows to over $200,000. We're talking about money that could completely change your retirement picture, and all you have to do is contribute enough to get the full match. But here's where most people make a critical mistake. They think getting the employer match is enough, so they contribute just enough to get the free money and then stop. While maximizing your employer match should definitely be your first priority, building real wealth means thinking beyond just the match and creating a comprehensive long-term strategy. The third monthly win focuses on something that might seem counterintuitive at first. Paying off high-interest debt can be one of the most powerful wealth-building strategies available, even though it doesn't feel like you're building wealth at all. Here's why this works. When you calculate net worth, you take everything you own and subtract everything you owe. So reducing what you owe directly increases your net worth dollar for dollar. But there's something even more powerful about eliminating high-interest debt that most people completely miss. It's not just about the mathematical benefit to your net worth. It's about the guaranteed return on investment that debt payoff provides. If you have a credit card charging 20% annual interest, paying off that balance is equivalent to earning a risk-free 20% return on your money. Show me an investment that can guarantee you 20% returns with zero risk, and I'll show you a scam or a credit card payment. The average American household is carrying over $9,000 in credit card debt. $9,000 that's generating absolutely nothing except stress and interest payments to credit card companies. If you're paying 20% interest on $9,000 in debt, you're throwing away $1,800 per year just in interest payments. That's money that could be working for you instead of against you. Here's what makes this even more ridiculous. Most of that credit card debt comes from buying things people don't actually need. I'm not talking about emergency medical expenses or unavoidable life circumstances. I'm talking about clothes that are probably hanging in closets with tags still on them, electronics that seemed essential at the time but are now gathering dust, and restaurant meals that were forgotten 5 minutes after the check arrived. The solution is straightforward, even if it's not always easy to implement. Make eliminating high-interest debt your top financial priority, even before you start investing for retirement beyond your employer match. There's no point in earning 7% in the stock market if you're paying 20% on credit card debt. The math just doesn't work in your favor. But here's where it gets interesting. Once you eliminate that debt, don't just start spending that money on other things. Redirect those monthly payments toward your investment accounts. If you were paying $400 per month toward credit card debt, continue paying that same $400, but now it goes toward building wealth instead of making credit card companies rich. This is how you turn a wealth destroyer into a wealth builder without changing your monthly cash flow at all. The fourth monthly win involves building what might be the most boring yet essential component of any wealth building strategy: an emergency fund. I know. Emergency funds aren't sexy. They don't generate impressive returns, and they certainly don't make for exciting dinner party conversations. But here's what an emergency fund actually does that nobody talks about. It keeps you invested during the times when most people panic and make terrible financial decisions. Think about what happens when unexpected expenses arise and you don't have an emergency fund. Your car breaks down and needs a $2,000 repair. Your water heater dies and needs to be replaced immediately. Your employer announces layoffs and your job suddenly feels less secure than it did last month. Without an emergency fund, these situations force you to make desperate financial decisions that can derail years of wealth building progress. Maybe you put the expenses on credit cards, instantly creating high interest debt that will take months or years to pay off. Maybe you cash out investment accounts, locking in losses during market downturns and missing out on the recovery. Or maybe you stop contributing to your retirement accounts because you need that money to cover unexpected costs. Each of these scenarios sets you back financially in ways that compound over time. But when you have 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting in a high-yield savings account, unexpected events become minor inconveniences instead of major financial disasters. Your car breaks down, you write a check from your emergency fund, and you continue investing as planned. Your water heater dies, you replace it without touching your investment accounts or creating debt. Your job becomes uncertain. You have time to find a better opportunity instead of taking the first offer out of desperation. The emergency fund also provides something that's harder to quantify, but equally valuable: peace of mind. When you know you can handle whatever life throws at you without derailing your financial future, you sleep better at night. You make better decisions because you're not operating from a place of fear or scarcity. You can take calculated risks that might improve your situation because you have a safety net to fall back on. Building an emergency fund doesn't have to be overwhelming. Start with a goal of $1,000, which covers most minor emergencies that arise. And once you reach that milestone, gradually work toward 3 months of expenses, then 6 months. The key is treating your emergency fund contribution like any other monthly bill that has to be paid. The fifth monthly win taps into something that our brains are naturally wired to enjoy, but most people never think to apply it to wealth building: gamification. Making your financial progress feel like a game instead of a chore. This might sound silly, but there's solid psychology behind why this approach works so well. One strategy that's gained popularity recently is called the 100 Envelope Challenge. Here's how it works. You label 100 envelopes with numbers from 1 to 100. Each day, you pick an envelope and put the corresponding dollar amount inside. So if you pick envelope number 37, you put $37 in that envelope. After 100 days, you'll have saved $5,050. Now, you might be thinking that saving over $5,000 in about 3 months sounds pretty aggressive, and you'd be right. But the beauty of this challenge is that it's completely customizable. You can do it weekly instead of daily, stretching it out over 2 years. You can cut all the amounts in half, saving about $2,500 instead. Or you can double the amounts if you want to save over $10,000. The point isn't the specific amounts or timeline. The point is that gamifying your savings makes the process engaging instead of painful. Instead of forcing yourself to save a fixed amount each month, you're participating in a challenge that feels almost like entertainment. Your brain gets a small hit of satisfaction each time you complete a day of the challenge, which motivates you to continue. You can create similar games around debt payoff, investment contributions, or any other financial goal. Maybe you challenge yourself to find creative ways to cut $100 from your monthly expenses. Maybe you see how many months in a row you can increase your investment contributions by even small amounts. The specific game doesn't matter as much as finding ways to make financial progress feel rewarding in the moment. The 6th monthly win addresses something that might be costing you thousands of dollars annually without you even realizing it: subscription creep. The average American household is paying for multiple streaming services, software subscriptions, gym memberships, meal delivery services, and dozens of other recurring charges that quietly drain bank accounts month after month. Here's what makes subscription creep so insidious. Each individual charge seems small and reasonable. $10 per month for a streaming service, $15 for a music subscription, $30 for a meal kit delivery. But when you add them all up, many households are spending several $100s monthly on subscriptions they barely use or could easily live without. The solution is simple, but requires a bit of detective work. Go through your bank and credit card statements from the past 3 months and identify every recurring charge. Write them all down with the monthly cost next to each one. Then ask yourself honestly whether each subscription is providing value that justifies its cost. If you haven't used a service in the past month, cancel it immediately. If you're paying for multiple services that provide similar benefits, pick the best one and cancel the rest. This exercise often reveals shocking amounts of waste. I've seen people discover they were paying for gym memberships at facilities they hadn't visited in over a year. Families paying for 3 different streaming services when they only regularly use one. Software subscriptions for programs they tried once and forgot about. The money saved from eliminating unused subscriptions can easily add up to several $100s per month, which becomes several $1,000s annually when redirected toward wealth building. But here's where things get really interesting, and this is the monthly win that separates people who talk about building wealth from people who actually do it. Understanding the difference between assets that make you money and liabilities that cost you money. Most people think they're building wealth when they're actually just accumulating expensive stuff that drains their bank accounts. Let me give you an example that might sting a little. That brand new car sitting in your driveway that you're so proud of, the one with the $400 monthly payment, full coverage insurance, and maintenance costs, that's not building wealth. That's wealth destruction with leather seats and a sunroof. The moment you drove it off the lot, it lost thousands of dollars in value. Every month you own it, it continues depreciating while costing you money. Now, I'm not suggesting you should walk everywhere or ride a bicycle to work, though your cardiovascular system might thank you. What I'm suggesting is that you think differently about major purchases. Instead of buying the newest, shiniest version of everything, consider whether a slightly older, more affordable option would serve the same purpose while freeing up money for actual wealth building. The average car payment in America is now over $700 per month. $700 for something that loses value faster than a celebrity marriage. If you could find a reliable used vehicle and cut that payment in half, you'd free up over $4,000 annually. Invested consistently at 8% returns, that extra $4,000 per year grows to over $500,000 over 30 years. There you have it. 6 monthly wins that don't require you to become a financial genius, inherit money from a rich uncle, or sacrifice your soul to the productivity gods. Automate your savings, Grab that free employer match, eliminate high interest debt, build an emergency fund, gamify your progress, and cut the subscription nonsense. Start with just one of these strategies this month, and in a year, you'll be shocked at how much your financial picture has changed. Your future millionaire self is counting on the decisions you make today, so stop making excuses and start making moves. Look, building wealth isn't rocket science, but it does require you to think differently than most people. While everyone else is chasing the next hot stock tip or complaining about not making enough money, you now have a blueprint for creating real, lasting wealth through small monthly actions that actually work. Let's recap what we've covered. Automate your savings so wealth building happens whether you feel motivated or not. Grab every penny of that employer match because it's literally free money sitting on the table. Attack high interest debt, like your financial life depends on it, because it does. Build that boring emergency fund so unexpected expenses don't derail your progress. Make saving feel like a game instead of a punishment. And stop letting subscription services quietly steal your wealth building money month after month. Here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. Most people will watch this video, nod along, maybe even get excited about the possibilities, and then do absolutely nothing. They'll go back to complaining about money while continuing the same habits that keep them broke. Don't be those people. Pick one strategy from this video, just one, implement it this week. Once it becomes automatic, add another. Your future self is literally depending on the choices you make right now. The path to $100,000 in additional net worth starts with your next decision, not your next excuse. The math works, the strategies are proven, and the only question left is whether you'll actually do something about it.